Okay, we'll talk about something real quick. Just because I haven't heard other people talk about this, and it kind of bugs me. It wasn't long ago, about a week ago maybe. Europeans have been going crazy. Uh, they want their own army. They want, because they feel we've abandoned them, kind of. But the EU really wants their own army. So now they're really going to jack everything up there. Like in Poland, they're going to be, every able-bodied man is going to be in the military. It's going to be required service. They really want to crank things up. And, like France wants to put nukes in Poland and perhaps Germany, which I thought, oh, wow, a nuclear armed Germany. Anyway, it wasn't long ago that, like I say, about a week, one of our ships on NATO maneuvers pulled into Norway to get fuel, and they refused to sell them fuel. Now, the Norwegian government got it straightened out, got a different vendor to come in and get fuel, but these people were encouraging everybody to kind of to not cooperate with the United States, not sell them fuel, and not provide any services. I thought that was interesting. But it's like I said, the Europeans, they want to go their own. They had that little security meeting a few days ago, and that was all of those rabble-rousing countries, except they didn't allow the little Baltic chihuahuas in there because they're really wild. Estonia and all them, they're just itching for a fight. So they were pretty pissed off that they weren't allowed at this meeting, but they'd have been yapping all the time, and it would have been a bad optics. But I heard something yesterday I thought was interesting. Because now, like I say, they don't want peace. They want a war, and they want to get. They don't have anything left. They gave everything over to Ukraine already, but now they want to start rebuilding. How they do this when they got no energy? They've got no industry anymore, but they're going to start building up their big, great army. A coalition of the willing, we've heard that before. But the United States have been talking about pulling their military out of Europe. And now I heard a funny thing that, again, it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that many years ago where actually Germany wanted us out of there. Then they changed their tune, of course, when this started going on. But what they're talking about doing now is pulling 35,000 soldiers out of Germany and moving them to a different part of Europe. Okay, and I'm thinking Romania, they're building the biggest NATO base in Europe in Romania. And that's where they've been staging a lot of stuff for. They always figured, if they got to go in to Ukraine, it was going to come out of Romania. It's right close to Odessa. That's I thought was the scheme. But they aren't moving them to Romania. What I've heard, they're going to move them into Hungary. Now, Hungary hasn't been cooperating with the EU on all this craziness they're going on. Hungary has actually been the only sensible, well, there's a couple others, but as far as this whole nonsense goes with Ukraine, and Hungary doesn't allow like weapons to be transferred or even go through Hungary. So it isn't like we're putting them in there to stage them to be able to make a run in. I don't see how that would be allowed. It appears that they're putting them in the one place in Europe that would be safe, or one of the few places, if this EU nonsense gets out of hand, especially with their nukes. They aren't going to target, the Russians are certainly not going to target Hungary. Because, like I say, Orban he's been a rock in this whole thing. I just found that interesting that that's where they're talking about moving them. But smart to get them out of, out of Germany or Poland or France, get them out of harm's way, put them in Hungary. I think that's a smart idea if that's what they're actually up to. But like I say, you never know with these people. I mean, they're all over the place. But the EU, those, they really are getting radical. I think it was Lithuania or Latvia, one or the other, where they switched their power. They were getting power from Russia, dirt cheap. And being clever, they thought, okay, we can shut off the power to, there is that enclave of Russians in Kaliningrad. And they thought, oh, we'll starve them of power by shutting off from Russia, and we will switch over to getting power from, like, Poland at like 8 times the price or higher. Can you imagine if your power bill went up, 8 times what it is? But that's what they did. Well, the Russians knew this was coming, and they already had alternatives set up for Kaliningrad, so it didn't hurt them at all. But these fools that pulled this, now all of a sudden they're paying huge prices for power. Unsustainable, really. And having all kinds of problems with the grid because there's power's a little chancy in like Poland anyway. It's the perfect example of cutting off your nose to spite your face. The interesting thing though, but to move them into Hungary, I think that's a smart move. And Orban must be all right with this. It must have been like his idea. So that's a good place to put them. You are out of harm's way in Hungary, as anybody in that area already knows. I mean, people trying to get out of Ukraine are trying to get into Hungary. Poland is not safe because Poland, you could end up going back into Ukraine. So the scheme, if you could get into Hungary, but of course Hungary doesn't want to take a lot of riffraff either. Interesting though. Well, let's see if this pans out. Because Europe is gonna, it's like they're bound to commit suicide. They just can't control themselves. They've got to stir things up. But yeah, I don't trust the French. I have little faith in the Germans. Don't trust the Poles. And then you give them nukes. Things could go bad. Things could go bad really quick. I mean, that whole Europe could blow up. And if it blows up, it would be good. It would be good to know that our military had been moved into safe ground, which would be Hungary. Better to bring them home, but you can't get them all home. Get them into Hungary. I like that idea. I hope that's what they're doing, but you never know these people.